All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about how we take surveying notes when we're out doing a circuit. So this is going to be a basic circuit where we know the known elevation at benchmark 1, and we're trying to determine the known elevation, or trying to determine the elevation at benchmark 2. With this garage in the way, we can't just simply shoot across, so we have to use some turning points, and we do a circuit going around. Okay, so each X is where we'll have our rod set up, and then each little carrot looking thing, that's where our level will be set up. Okay, so we had our level set up, and the first thing we have to do is take a backside. So that backside goes back to benchmark 1, and this will set our initial instrument height. So as we look through here, if you remember how we read surveying rod, look right here. So we looked at our red number, which is 5, go up to 2, so 5.2, and then count up 5.23. So our backside on benchmark 1 is 5.23, which we then write up here in our survey notes as a backside for benchmark 1, 5.23. Okay, so that was like if we're set up here, we took that backside. Now we need to do a foresight. And with this foresight, we'll be able to find our next elevation. So we're going to do a foresight to turning point 1. All right, and to turning point 1. So when we do that, we look and we take a reading here. Look for our lowest red number, which is 3. And then our next closest below black number would be 5. And then that's 5. 5.6. So 3.56. 3.56 will be our turning point 1 foresight. All right. So after that, so now we've done our backside, which is 5.23. We did our foresight, 3.56. So now we're going to have to move our level from here over to here. Okay, and then when we do that, we have to take what's called a backside to a known location, which is now be our turning point 1. So when we look at that, we see 6.17. 6.17. That's our backside to turning point 1. So we write that down under here, backside, turning point 1, 6.17. Okay, so from there, we're set up here. We can move, it's like a leapfrog. The person holding the rod will come up here and set up at turning point 2. Okay, and now we're going to take a foresight because we do not know the elevation of turning point 2. So that foresight at turning point 2 will be 2.89. 2.8, and then it's right underneath there, so that would be 9. So the foresight at turning point 2 is 2.89. Okay, so we write that here, foresight, turning point 2, 2.89. Okay, so now we have this elevation. We can take and move our level over to here. Okay, so next thing we have to do is take a turning point 2. We got to take a backside. We got to look back to it. Okay, so when we do that, we got the red, so 8.74. 8.74 is our turning point 2 as a backside. There we go. So under here, under backside for turning point 2, 8.74. So that's set up here. We're looking back at turning point 2, 8.74. Now we need to turn around and we look to our benchmark 2. Okay, this is the one we're looking for. So from here, once we do this, then we'll be able to reset up and start back to benchmark 1. Maybe. Okay. So benchmark 2 is foresight, 3.27. 3.27. There's 5, 6, 7, all right? Okay, so that's our foresight, benchmark 2 foresight, 3.27. So we write that under foresight. Now what we have to do is we have to actually reset our level to make all this work out. And the reason we do this is to check our math, to make sure that we didn't get off as we came around this garage. So we set up here and we take a backside to our benchmark 2. So backside to benchmark 2 is going to be 4.2. 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4.2 4 4.28 looks like. So 4.28, we write that down. And that's our backside. Now we just retrace our steps. So we do a foresight to turning point 2. So when we do our foresight turning point 2, we get 9.75. 9.75. Okay, 9.75. We write that down there. Okay, so now that we have that, we can pick up and we move to here. Okay, and so then we do another backside to turning point 2. Okay, so when we do this backside turning point 2, we get 4.01. 4.01 is our backside to turning point 2. So that goes under here, backside turning point 2. Okay, now, so now it's our backside. So we need to take a foresight to turning point 1, which will get us turning point 1 foresight, which looks like 7.30. 7.30. So we write that under foresight, turning point 1. Okay, so now that we have our foresight, we can then pick up, do our final level setup here. And we'll do a backside and a foresight, and that'll finish us up. So the first thing we need to do is our backside to turning point 1. So turning point 1, a backside, looks like 3. Can't use this 4 because we're below it. So 3.86. 3.86 will be our backside at turning point 1. So 3.86. And then again, we've got to do a foresight, and that'll complete our circuit. That'll be our last measurement with the level and the rod. So go here. This is our backside. Looks like I forgot to label this one. Foresight to benchmark 1, and looks like we're going to get 5.53. 5.53 to finish this out. Now, if you look, these readings like turning point 1 here and here are different, right? They're kind of close. The backside and the foresight are kind of close, and the foresight and the backside here are kind of close, but they're not the same. And that's because we have the level set up in different spots, so we're not going to get the same numbers. What should happen, though, is our elevation here and the elevation we're about to calculate here should be the same. And ideally, if we know we did it right, this elevation and this elevation will be the same. Okay, so that leads us to our next thing. If you notice up here, we added 2 equations. So in order to find the elevation, we have to do a little bit of math. So what we need to do is take the height, the instrument height is what we got to find here, and that equals elevation plus the backside. So if we start at benchmark 1, we take the elevation as known as 100 feet, and we simply add the backside. So elevation plus backside, and that gives us our instrument height we're going to write there. And that is 105.23. So 5.23 plus 100, 105.23. Now this works like a pattern. So you add here, and then you take this number and subtract here, and it'll give you the new elevation. So to find our elevation, we simply take the instrument height minus the foresight. So 105.23 minus 3.56, and that'll give us this elevation, which is 101.67. Okay, so what it's saying is that from here to here, this is 1.67 feet higher. All right, so now we've moved our instrument, so we need a new instrument height. So we take 101.67 plus 6.7. That gives us a new instrument height of 107.84, and that's what the instrument height was here. Okay, so from this, we simply subtract. Okay, so 107.84 minus 2.89, and that'll give us the elevation at turning point 2. That elevation works out to be 104.95. So this is about 5 feet higher than over here. Okay. The next thing we need to do, we've moved our instrument again, so we got to find a new instrument height. So we take 104.95 plus 8.75, which will give us 113.69. 113.69, that's the height of our level on our tripod here. Okay, so if we subtract our reading, that'll give us the elevation of benchmark 2, which is what we're really after here. So when we subtract those two, that gives us 110.42. Okay, so 110.42, that's the elevation here. So there's 10 foot of difference from the front side of this garage to the back side of this garage. Okay, and then now we just got to finish out our circuit. So we take this, we add again, and that'll give us 114.70 at the end. Then we subtract here to give us 104.95, which is also the same here. So that's good. That's all right so far. We need to add these two again. Okay, 108.96, and we subtract 7.3. Okay, so 101.66, 101.67. So it was like we're 100th off, which is not really enough for what we're doing to worry about. That's just within the allowable error. So then we take this last elevation and we find our last instrument height by adding these two, 101.66 to 3.86, and that'll give us 105.52. Okay, and then finally we subtract these two, and hopefully it works out to equal 100. When we subtract them, we get 99.99. So again, we're within the allowable error. We're just off 0.01, which is fine. Now, the one thing we have to do is what's called an arithmetic check, because, yes, these numbers worked out. There's a chance maybe we misadded or we subtract something. So in order to check that, the first thing we do is we take this whole column of backsides and we add it up. When we do that, we get 32.29. Then we take the whole column of foresights and we add those together, and that should give us 32.30. We subtract these two numbers from each other, and that gives us 0.01, which or negative 0.01, which we subtract from our initial elevation, all right, which is 100. So we subtract those two, and that'll give us 99.99. Now we simply take this number and compare them. They are the same. So that means that our math is correct. Say we did all this and we got 95 point something down here. I'm like, wow, that's really off. So if we added these numbers up and we didn't get 95 here, that means that we did something wrong on our math, which is possible. Maybe you added when you should have subtracted. Okay, that can happen. So that's why we do the check. So that's the basic breakdown of how we do surveying notes. Okay.